Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. Can you tell I just got out of the shower? I'm honestly amazed that I'm on time. It's hard to be on time, okay? Even for remote things, because we think we have all the time in the world, right? Alrighty. Hi, Erin. We're gonna give it a few minutes. Hi, Salted Apple. Before we get started, let me just pull up my check-in guide. If I can find it. Wait, hold on. Where did I put it? There it is. Hi, we're just gonna wait just a couple more minutes before we get started. It's 10 o'clock now. Let's wait till 10:02 and then we'll get started. Hello. Fidelis Mark 6, welcome. So I'll just do some intros while we're waiting. So, hi, my name is Mia Hemstad. If you're new here, I am a mom and I am a trauma-informed self-care coach, and I'm the creator and founder of No Longer Last. Hey, Kathleen. I'm the creator and founder of No Longer Last, which is a mission and a program to help women prioritize their health, happiness, and well-being. And it started kind of as an organic result of me going through, honestly, an entire lifetime. I'm an abuse survivor, and I have gone through postpartum depression and anxiety. I have a diagnosis of c-ptsd and depression, and it's just a whole lifetime of me being last and having to be last because of the home I was raised in and just other scenarios I was in, and just me learning to reclaim my power through prioritizing what I want and need to be happy, healthy, and whole. And I've been sharing that journey online, on YouTube and on Instagram since 2017. So that's how No Longer Last came about. I realized that I wasn't the only woman who was really struggling with putting myself first. I realized that there's a lot of messaging, a lot of programming and conditioning that we all have as women that make us feel like we should put ourselves last, that make us feel like taking care of ourselves or giving ourselves what we want or need is selfish. And, the more I went through therapy and the more I did my own inner work to heal, the more I realized I wasn't the only one struggling, because I was sharing my journey as I went along, and have gotten so many messages, comments, and DMs from other women saying, oh my gosh, I feel the same burden, I feel the same weight, I feel the same stress, I have the same struggles. So that's how No Longer Last came about. And today's weekly wellness check-in is a practice that I developed a couple years ago, where I was suicidal, I was struggling with extreme depression, I had just had my second child, and my therapist was like, you really need to carve out regular time to identify what it is that you need. And so the weekly wellness check-in, which started out as a health gratitude goals journaling practice, it's a 5 to 15 minute journaling practice where you identify how you're doing mentally, physically, and spiritually, or you can say mentally, physically, and emotionally if you're not a spiritual person. And then I would identify one thing I needed to do to prioritize my well-being. What can I do in a small way to take care of myself? And I would identify that one action and take that action. So it really helped me to start creating momentum in my wellness journey, my healing journey. And I decided to take those principles and put it into a one-page PDF. I don't have it printed out because I'm trying to be paperless, but I have it here. And you can download it on my website for free. It's linked in my bio. Or you can go to, you can also go to miahemstad.com/wellness. But yeah, it's just a really simple guide. And the thing that I love about it is that it's simple. I think a lot of us are really busy. I mean, raise your hand if you are not only sick of this pandemic, but also just like really busy, whether you're a mom or whether you're struggling with mental health challenges, or you work from home, or you're doing virtual learning, or you're homeschooling, whatever it is, or maybe all of the above. It's getting harder and harder for us to take care of ourselves. And I feel that deeply, and I know exactly what that feels like. And, it just got to a point where I was like completely hit rock bottom. And I don't know if any of you are there, or if you want to share if you're there, go ahead and throw up a heart emoji or a raise your hand emoji. Like, one thing that I had to learn is that work, stress, and chaos, you can hear my kids, it's fine. It adds to the ambiance. Work, stress, and chaos and responsibilities are always going to be there, but your health is not always going to be there for you if you don't take care of it. And I know that sounds scary, but that's the wake-up call that I needed after I gave birth to my second child, and I was running around as if I had not just delivered a child. I was running around like I was totally fine. And I was not. And I felt like my pelvis was doing a weird thing because I had delivered vaginally, and I had my mental health started really declining, and I just was still hustling and going to play dates and all this stuff as if I didn't need to slow down and check in. So the goal of the weekly wellness check-in, you can do it in a notebook, get a designated journal for this practice so that seeing it physically reminds you. I remember when I started this, it was a notebook. It was a crappy notebook that I put on my breakfast table, on like the table where we ate every day, so that when I sat down to eat breakfast, I saw it and it would prompt me to do this. And then I would just quickly go through, okay, how am I mentally? How am I physically? How am I spiritually? Or how am I emotionally? And, mental. Maybe you are, I actually would love to do this with you all live, if that's cool with you. I mean, even if only one person wants to do this live, I think it's worth it because I want you to walk away having an idea of what it is, where you are at. So that at the end of it, you can kind of understand how this works. So if you could grab a piece of paper, or if you want to download the weekly wellness check-in on my website, or you can just type in live in the comments how you're doing. But let's go ahead and break it down. So with the weekly wellness check-in, it's basically forcing you to sit down and check in with yourself for 5 to 10 minutes to see where you're at. Because I know a lot of times it can feel overwhelming. Maybe you have a lot going on. Maybe you have mental health problems, physical health problems, emotional health problems, spiritual challenges. Maybe you're feeling really lonely. And all of these things feel like completely overwhelming, right? It's like, okay, I need to make time with my friends, but I also need to set up a play date with my kids, and I need to call my doctor, but I also need to do a meal plan, and what's for dinner tonight, and I need to remember to do this, and there's 6 loads of laundry that needs to be folded. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot that we manage. And so that's why I like to break it down into 3 categories of mental, physical, and spiritual or emotional, because then you can kind of isolate the different things, right? And then from there, we can prioritize. So mental is kind of like, what are your mental symptoms? Like, are you struggling with brain fog, difficulty concentrating? Are you struggling with like rumination? Are you like getting locked into a thought pattern and you can't seem to get out of it? Are you catastrophizing? Are you thinking that this one thing that is probably not going to happen is going to happen and you just can't stop thinking about it? Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. What is it that you are dealing with mentally? And go ahead and just jot down a few words. Anxious, depressed, struggling to focus, overwhelmed, feeling heavy, feeling hopeless, feeling helpless. Write those things down in black and white. Get them out of your head. Externalize them. When we externalize it, it becomes more real. And that is the first step to building awareness, right? This is not a fake thing that you are making up in your head. This is a real experience that you're going through that you should validate by first writing it down and calling attention to it and bringing awareness to it, because that's the first step to making any changes at all. So after you've jotted down a few things for the mental category, let's move into physical. How are you doing physically? Are you fatigued? Are you short of breath? Are you struggling to breathe? Are you dealing with like cold symptoms that will never go away? Are you dealing with stomach issues? A lot of us have normalized having stomach pain every day. I know I did, and it wasn't until the end of last year I started to see a doctor specifically to help me with all my gut problems. Identify those things. How are you doing physically? Are you able to do a lot of the physical activities that you used to do or that you like to do? Why not if you're not able to? So write down just a couple of things about how you're doing physically. And I'm going to give it a minute, actually. If anybody wants to share in the chat, in the comments, go ahead. Feel free if you're feeling brave. For me, mentally, and physically, they're kind of connected. I have, they're called night terrors, chronic night terrors or chronic nightmares. And it's a symptom of having PTSD. And it's something that is completely kicking me in the butt right now. It's part of why I have not been on Instagram and in this live way. And I've missed it so much. I've missed connecting with all of you live like this. And I had to really use my own weekly wellness check-in to get real with myself, because I've been going through this for months and months. It's been getting worse, but I've been kind of like pushing forward. And then I realized, no, I need to slow down and check in. And I realized that the sleep issues, the fatigue, the exhaustion, the nightmares are getting worse. And Bermuda's boy mom says anxious and overwhelmed. I feel you, okay? You are definitely not alone, I'm sure. I'm sure there's other people here that feel that way too. And yeah, I was feeling anxious and overwhelmed when I put down in black and white, like, Mia, your sleep is getting worse. Your mood is getting worse. Your energy levels are getting worse. And it was so hard to recognize that. But you know what? After I said that out loud and wrote it down in my journal, my brain went into solutions mode. I started Googling PTSD and nightmares. And it's not like I haven't done this before, but you never reach the bottom of the barrel in terms of solutions. And what I've used so far has not worked, right? So I reached out to my primary care doctor. I said, hey, the medicine you prescribed is not working. What's the next step? Then I Googled an acupuncturist, because acupuncture used to really help me with my sleep, but I've moved and I no longer am next to my old former acupuncturist. And so I Googled some acupuncturists in the area and sent them a message asking how much they charge for cash pay patients. And then I reached out to a friend who I know used to work at UC Berkeley Research Center and said, hey, do you know if there's any sleep studies going on? And she put together a bunch of resources for me. So now I have some places to go. And I actually emailed UC Berkeley Sleep Center and I asked them if they have any ongoing studies so that maybe I can join a sleep study. So do you see what I mean? Do you see how such a simple practice can help you start to take those steps to find solutions? And every week, just take one more step. Maybe the first week you just do some research. Maybe the second week you call your insurance. Maybe the third week, if you don't have insurance, or maybe you do and it costs a lot, the third week you look at a budget. You look at your money and go, how much can I realistically afford to spend on my healthcare right now? Because I know a lot of people are like, go to therapy, get an acupuncturist. Listen, this stuff is expensive. This stuff is so expensive, and that's no shade to the practitioners, because they go into a lot of debt to learn what they know. But it doesn't make it any easier as a consumer or as the patient, or if you're a parent, or if you have your own student loans. It's challenging. But that's the point of this practice. It's like, at the end of the day, your health, well-being, and happiness matters so much. It's not something that can be purchased. It's something that has to be protected, maintained, and taken care of. And every week, I want you to develop this practice of sitting down for 10 to 15 minutes to ask, how am I doing? What's one step I can take to take care of an issue that's going on in my life? So even though I'm still dealing with nightmares, I'm honestly so impressed that I was able to make it live. I don't have any makeup on. My hair is still dripping wet from the shower. But the sleep deprivation has really been affecting me. It's been affecting so many things in my life that make me happy, like being able to show up here. But I have to tell you that sitting down and identifying how terribly I was doing, and then taking those initial steps to try to get some support, even if I can't afford the acupuncture, even if I can't sign up for the sleep study, guys, I at least looked into it. How many of us tell ourselves no before we've even asked? We, self-negate. We say, oh no, I probably can't afford acupuncture. I'm not even going to see if there's an acupuncturist in the area. Oh no, my insurance probably doesn't even cover this. I'm not even going to bother checking. I probably can't even attend a sleep study. It probably is super expensive. How many of us self-negate? I know I do it all the time without realizing it. And a lot of times it's rooted in a childhood pattern. Maybe your parents told you no a lot. Maybe you were constantly disappointed, so you don't even ask to protect yourself from disappointment. That's a whole nother coaching session for another day. But the purpose of this practice, hopefully every week, is that you start getting better at looking into answers before you tell yourself no. And so by just reaching out to UC Berkeley, reaching out to a friend who also has sleep challenges, reaching out to an acupuncturist asking how much she charges, reaching out to my doctor and saying, hey, the medicine that you prescribe is not working. What can we do next? I am not making myself shoulder the entire burden of this problem. I'm not making myself have to be the only one worrying about it. I told my husband, I said, hey, I just want you to know I'm not doing well. Here's what's going on with me. Here's what I'm going to do about it. Can you help hold me accountable? Even though those of us who are in relationships, partnerships, marriages. How many of us, like, we see our partner every day, but we don't even really check in, like, honestly, how are you doing? What's going on? How can I support you? You know, and then we get resentful with our partner when they don't support us in the way that we want or need, but we don't really clue them in on what's going on. So hopefully by writing this down in your weekly wellness check-in, you're like, oh, I didn't realize this is how bad it is. I didn't realize how overwhelmed, anxious, depressed, exhausted I've been feeling. Let me share that with these people that love me and ask them to support me so I'm not doing this by myself. And just by taking those simple steps, I already feel more empowered. That feeling of powerlessness and helplessness that triggers my childhood trauma, that triggers so much in my life because of how many years I've spent feeling helpless and powerless, it started to ease up. It started to melt away. Because even though I haven't discovered the perfect solution to solve my sleep issues, knowing that I was kicking anxiety to the curb and I was taking control by looking for solutions with what I had available to me, which was a Wi-Fi connection and a computer, to start looking, it made me feel like I wasn't giving up on myself. It made me feel powerful. It made me feel in control. It made me feel like I'm not going to give up and I'm going to figure this out. And that alone gave me the momentum to exercise today, to take a shower like in the morning instead of dragging my feet all throughout the day. It helped me I made a plan last night for what I need to do for work. I reached out to a friend and asked if we could hold each other accountable and have co-working on Zoom. And the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because I want you to see that such a simple practice can have a dramatic ripple effect in every area of your life. Because when you start to take care of yourself and become aware and acknowledge where you're hurting and reach out for support and become a solutions-oriented person, it starts to bleed into the other areas of your life in the best way. Then you start to become a solutions-oriented, empowered person in your relationships, in your parenthood, in your job. That mindset that you foster and cultivate in your weekly wellness check-in is a mindset that you bring into all these other facets of your life. The positive ripple effect starts to happen immediately. And I know a lot of us have been sold, especially because of the great marketing a lot of people do on this platform, makes us feel like we need to spend $8,000 going to a 1 week, retreat in the mountains to change our lives. And if you can afford that, I am so happy for you, and I think that's great. But if you're like me and you're in a situation where you need to work with what you have, you need to be scrappy, you need to be resourceful, then I highly encourage you to try this, to set a timer for 10 minutes and print out this weekly wellness check-in, print out 30 pages, or get a notebook designated for it and just, print out one page so you can use that as a reference. And set a timer, put a calendar reminder in your calendar for a certain time every Monday, every Sunday, beginning of your week, for 10 to 15 minutes to do this check-in and see how it starts to create a ripple effect in the way that you show up for yourself. Because even though I'm still tired and I still have nightmares, it's like I know that I will figure it out. I know that I'm carving out time to regularly work on this issue rather than feeling stuck and helpless in a challenge. So what's a challenge that you're facing right now, mentally, physically, or emotionally, or spiritually, that you want to take action on this week? And if you don't know, if you're not sure how to prioritize, like Mia, there's so many things going on, what's the most important? I have a 4B framework that helps prioritize your self-care. I'm not going to go into it on this video. I'm going to be creating a YouTube series and probably a mini course on this because it's a little bit more involved. But to give you a Cliff Notes version, the 4B self-care framework goes basic self-care, boring self-care, brilliant self-care, and bougie self-care. And basic self-care always goes first. And there's 5 types of basic self-care: sleep, movement, eating well, hydration, and what's the last one? Sleep, movement, eating well, hydration. Oh my gosh, y'all. There's one more. Eating well, hydration. Can anybody guess it? This is ridiculous, but this is what sleep deprivation does to me. It's like makes my short-term memory like terrible. But basically there's 5 types. And so whenever I feel overwhelmed by all the things in my life that I need to do for my self-care, I try to remember to always do basic first. Like that 4B framework has helped me to combat the overwhelm of like decision fatigue and choice and oh my gosh, there's 100 things I need to do. And it helps me to just go, okay, what is the basic self-care in this? Because without basic self-care, everything else falls apart. Basic self-care is the absolute foundation for your health and well-being. It's what you need to function and survive. Then the other three types of self-care are also important, but they should come after basic. So if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, ask yourself, how is my sleep? Am I moving my body on a regular basis intentionally? Notice I don't say, am I in an exercise program? Am I doing a 30-day boot camp? No. Intentional movement. Today, I only had capacity for a 10-minute workout that was very simple and easy to follow along. Great. Intentional movement, check. What am I doing for my sleep? I already told you, I reached out to all these people trying to figure out how to make my sleep better. In the meantime, obviously I'm trying to practice good sleep hygiene by putting away screens, having a consistent bedtime, and I fail at it, y'all. I fail at it all the time, but it's about the effort and trying to improve what you can where you're at. And then eating well. How is your eating going? What's hard about it? What do you need to do more of? What do you need to do less of? And this is something that a lot of people can journal on, because I know some people might need like more support. I know for me, I didn't even know how to eat like in a way that made me feel good. I just ate how I've always ate since I was a kid, even though it made my stomach hurt. And going into that question actually helped me to find a resource, a book that I really liked that helped me to change how I ate to make my gut feel better. But that's like a whole nother thing for another day. And then, so we covered sleep, movement, eating, hydration. Are you having headaches every day because you're struggling to get your hydration in? Does this mean that you need a larger water bottle? Does this mean that you need to squeeze fruit into your water to make it more enjoyable? Like, what do you need to do to make this happen for you? And then I literally can't believe I can't remember the last basic self-care. Just give me a second, y'all. But if you could, go ahead and put in the comments, like, if any of this is resonating, or if this is what I'm talking about is jogging your mind of like, oh, like I probably should do this, or because sometimes things can be so simple. When I was a teenager, I used to have really bad regular headaches, and I had no idea it was due to dehydration. And it was this whole thing, and then I went to a doctor, and she basically was like, how much water do you drink in a day? And I'm like, maybe a cup of water. And she was like, that's why you're dehydrated. I see all the love and the hearts. Thank you. She's like, yeah, that's why you're dehydrated. And then I started to fill up a huge water bottle, and I never left the house without a water bottle. And since then, my headaches are very rare, like almost non-existent. And this used to be a crippling part of my daily life. Let me fix my camera. I don't know why, but it's bothering me. It used to be a crippling part of my daily life. So I just want to show you these examples because I want you to see like how simple this can be. And again, I know it can be overwhelming. One of the things my clients come to me with is like, okay, Mia, like I've written down like 50 things and I don't know what to do first. And that's when I teach the 4B self-care framework, which is going to be a completely free mini course. So if you're not on my email list, make sure you're on my email list so that you get access to the mini course. When it comes out, I explain the different B's, the different types of self-care in more detail. And hopefully I'll actually remember the last one of the basic self-care, because basic self-care is the only one that has 5 types. And I literally can't remember. So, look out for the mini course because it will definitely have that there for you. But yeah, so one of the questions on the wellness check-in guide is, what are some ways, big and small, that you can care for yourself, and you can jot those things down? And then the last question is, what's one action you can take this week to take care of your well-being? Just one. And just make it one. Because if you say, I'm going to call my insurance, and then I'm going to research doctors, and then I'm going to schedule an appointment, and then I'm going to attend the appointment, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to look at my budget so I know I can make the copay. That's too much if you've never done this before. It's too much. You're going to overwhelm yourself, you're going to snap back, and you're not going to do it. Just this week, just call your insurance. This week, just see if there's any providers in your area. This week, just practice your self-awareness and do this journaling practice to see what comes up for you. Just one thing. And again, make it a recurring reminder in your calendar so that you come back next Monday morning or next Sunday to follow up and see, where are things at? How are things going? What am I going to do this week? And by the way, I'm going to be doing this every Monday for the month of February, which I think we have like 3 more Mondays. So I will be here to do this live at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Again, if you want to do this together. But Bermuda's Boy Mom says, for the last week, I upped my water intake from about 1 cup to nearly 12 per day. It has been night and day difference. I don't feel like I need coffee anymore. First of all, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, because that's so inspiring to me. And it's such a beautiful example of how, we might have some huge problems. I thought like I needed to go to the hospital. I was having such bad headaches. And I thought I needed all this medication or whatever. And it turned out I just needed to drink water. Like, how cheap is that of a solution? Like, I thought the solution needed to be thousands of dollars. And the solution was I needed to drink more water. And I did buy a nice fancy water bottle, like one of those really nice ones, like $50. But it's like, it has an unlimited warranty. And I don't even know the brand name. So this is definitely not sponsored or gifted. But it's a huge bottle and I only need to fill it up twice. Because I realized the resistance for me was I hate going back to the fridge to refill my water bottle. So if I reduce the number of times I have to refill the bottle, it increased the amount of water I drink in a day. So what was the resistance for you? I'm curious, Bermuda's Boy Mom, because everyone's different. And that's what I love when I hear such a success story about like going from 1 to 12 cups. I'm like, I wonder what helped you to turn that around. But that's amazing. Like, the solution can sometimes be so simple and sometimes it's right under our nose. Absolutely, Elena says, being more intentional about movement. Nothing crazy, just taking the dog on more walks around the neighborhood. That's beautiful. That's simple, but it's beautiful. And it probably could really help you. I love going for walks outside because you get some vitamin D, fresh air, you get movement, and it's just like a way to make sure you get out of the house, especially during this time that we're all living in. And I love that. And yeah, I definitely think bring that in and just try to, if you feel resistance ever, just ask yourself, why am I feeling resistance? Is it because it's cold outside? Is it because I'm telling myself I need to walk for 30 minutes? Otherwise it doesn't count. Because let me tell you, I've had clients that are like, I haven't been exercising because I don't have an hour anymore. And I feel like it's pointless. And I'm like, oh, no, that's diet culture. If you walk outside for 5 minutes, that's worth it. It doesn't matter how long. What's your motivation? What's your goal? If it's just to be intentional about movement, if it's 5 minutes long, you've succeeded. If it's 1 hour long, you succeeded. If your intention and your motivation behind movement is, I need to fix this about my body, or it needs to be this much, I need to burn this many calories, then yes, you're going to make it harder. So anytime, I know you didn't ask for this, Elena, but I just want to throw this out in case it could help anyone else watching, that anytime we feel resistance to doing a practice, it's so important to ask ourselves why. Where's the resistance coming from? And how can I respond to the resistance to reduce it? So for me, with the water example, my resistance was, as a busy mom and someone who's working from home in any crevice of time I can, stopping what I'm doing to go fill up my cup is like, it's resistant. I don't like to do it. It takes time. I have to think about it. I'm often on the go, at the playground, at the grocery store, whatever. And having a water bottle that doesn't have condensation, it doesn't make my bag wet, it doesn't spill. I realized once I got a bottle that solved all those problems, then the resistance went way down and my water consumption went way up. So apply that curiosity of what's the resistance to whatever it is you're practicing, and it will help you to still be intentional about movement, or be intentional about drinking water, or whatever it is. Bermuda's Boy Mom said, I honestly got tired of daily headaches and feeling lethargic. Exactly. Sometimes we just get sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And that's where I'm at with my sleep. I'm so sick of waking up every day, and the day is beautiful outside. I'm staying in a cabin right now. It's just gorgeous. And for the last few days, I haven't been able to get off the couch barely. Love it, Elena. I'm so glad I could help you. And it makes me so depressed to be 28 years young and to not be able to go outside and adventure. As a kid, I loved hiking. I loved nature. I loved adventures and exploration. And my kids are running around and they're like so excited, and I'm not out there joining them. It's like heartbreaking. I'm like, I hate this. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm going to do something about it. And I'm not going to give up until I figure out how to heal my sleep. And it honestly resulted in me Googling something. I found a YouTube video about nightmare rescripting, which I've heard of, but I haven't found a good tutorial for it. And I finally found a good tutorial. It's by Dr. Tracy Marks on YouTube. Not sponsored or anything like that. But she has a video on nightmare rescripting, and she really explains why people who have PTSD or a specific large trauma in their life have a recurring nightmare. And she helped me to understand that. And I had a breakthrough this weekend of why I have this recurring nightmare and what the theme is. And so last night was my first night doing nightmare rescripting, and I've made a commitment with myself that I'm going to work on that every day for 30 days. And then I'll report back. Because a lot of times we quit our new habits, right, that we try, or our new goals. We're like, oh, well, like drinking this water isn't really helping me, or going on these walks isn't making a difference for my mental health or my mood. But we do it for 3 days and we quit. Like, no, like you have to make a commitment with yourself that maybe it isn't good enough for you, but give it time. Decide when your reevaluation date's going to be. For me, sometimes it's at the end of the next week. Sometimes it's in 30 days. Sometimes it's in 2 weeks. And I make sure I do that so that I don't give up prematurely. And I have to say that when we're in this, like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to work on my self-awareness. I'm going to get support. I'm going to bring in as much support as available to me. One thing I love to say is I'm going to do the best I can with the time, energy, and resources I have. It's like I just feel less depressed when I do that, because I'm not laying on the couch feeling like I'm stuck and doing nothing. I'm laying on the couch knowing that I'm going to take a nap for an hour, and then I'm going to wake up, and then I'm going to do the next thing, the best thing that I can to live my life to the fullest with what I have right now. And that it's amazing how much that can change your mood. Because even if you could still be hurting or struggling with a chronic pain or a chronic issue, you know that you're not giving up, and you're still going to put up a fight for your health, happiness, and well-being. You're still going to prioritize yourself. And every time I do that, every time I prioritize myself, it benefits my husband, it benefits my kids. I'm able to show up better for my life. And that's what I'm trying to teach people through the No Longer Last mission and through my programs and everything that I do here. I want you to know that being no longer last, making yourself a priority, is actually the most selfless thing you can do. It's the most beautiful thing that you can do, because the positive ripple effect that it creates touches everyone in your life positively. It truly does. And I have experienced this personally, and I've worked with like over a dozen clients over the last 18 months. And they have also reported back, like, I was hesitant at first to do this, and now I see how much it's improved this and this and this and this and this. And that's the thing. We've all been conditioned to think that considering yourself first is somehow bad, and that a good woman puts herself last. And let me tell you, that is a curse handed to us from racism, from patriarchal programming, from abuse. You know, there's a lot of different layers. There are, you know, in general, I think patriarchal programming puts women last in general. But if you've gone through abuse, physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, there's this added layer where you just feel unworthy. Unworthy of love, unworthy of care, unworthy of consideration, unworthy of having resources spent on you, money, time, energy, right? It's hard for those of us who've been abused to reach out and go, can you help me? I really need someone to hear me, to listen. I really need someone to hold me accountable. I really need someone to talk to, because we feel, if you were abused, you feel like you're not allowed to take up resources. Like, how dare you ask for someone to care about you, because you are made to feel worthless. That's what abuse does. So there's all these layers. And through my work, I hope to help women unpack these layers so that you can get closer and closer to the healthiest and most authentic version of who you really are. Not the version of you who had to put on a ton of layers of protection to protect yourself from a patriarchal world, to protect yourself from the people who've abused you, to protect yourself from all the traumas, or maybe you're a person of color and you got to protect yourself from white supremacy. We all carry a lot of layers, and we did it to protect ourselves. They were necessary. And I just hope to help women slowly but surely remove the layers one by one and make it safe to remove the layers, or realize that maybe you are safe, but you're still holding on to these layers because you haven't fully processed that you are no longer in that situation. I know for me, I've been removed for the most part from the people who've abused me, but my body and mind still think sometimes that I'm there. So I have to regularly practice safety, feeling safe in my body, and recognizing that it's safe to take care of yourself, Mia. It's safe to prioritize yourself. It's safe to ask for help. And so that's what I want to close out with right now for all of you. It is safe to be no longer last. It is safe to prioritize yourself. It is safe to ask for what you need. It is safe to reach out for support. It is safe to share your truth with people that you trust. And if you don't have that person, my DMs are always open. I am privileged and honored to hear your story and to try to help you as best I can. I am not a therapist, but I always advocate for therapy if that's something that you can afford. And if it isn't, because I've been there, there's some foundations that offer free therapy, and also like good old-fashioned seeking out help from books, podcasts, YouTube videos, and people's content of people who've gone through it can be helpful. But my message to you is it's safe to take care of yourself. And it really is a good thing to prioritize your health, your happiness, and your well-being. You are so deserving of feeling good, of feeling happy, of being the healthiest person that you can be. And everybody in your life benefits when you do that. So thank you so much for those of you who stayed on. You're welcome. I will be back next Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And again, make sure you're on my email list. You can go to miahemstad.com/list, or you can download the weekly wellness check-in at miahemstad.com/wellness. That's also linked in my bio, and I recommend it because if you want to know more about the 4B self-care framework, the basic, boring, brilliant, and bougie self-care framework that helps you combat that anxiety when it comes to what to do first, helps you prioritize your self-care in a way that's actually nourishing for you and not comparison, like, what is she doing on social? Oh, I guess I should take a bath because that's what she's doing. And oh my gosh, you guys, that's the 5th basic self-care, hygiene. Hygiene. Okay, I almost forget it. But if you want that mini course, it will be coming out soon, hopefully in March. That's what I'm aiming for. Again, I am struggling with my sleep, but I'm going to do my darn best because it brings me so much joy to share and connect with all of you. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And my DMs are always open if you ever have any questions. I can't wait to send y'all the mini course soon. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for showing up for me. I appreciate it. Bye.